Now let's jump right the fuck in. As if we never left. Coming right off that exhilarating Ukraine story. Let's talk about Russia. You know, Russia's a strange place. If you look in history, one of our greatest poets, Langston Hughes, of the Harlem Renaissance, he went to Russia way back in the 1930s. Russians have always been intrigued with us, but that's not always to say when we went abroad that we were treated as stellar as we had heard or thought of. But for the most part, Russians don't really harbor any true prejudices. Although in history they've had limited contact with black people overall, their contact has been fair in its treatment and its understanding. However, Russian diplomats, especially during the USSR period, were very smart. Smart enough to know that even the US was concerned about the way in which another country could exploit the prejudiced Jim Crow atmosphere and era here in the United States of America. And trust me, since then, they've been throwing everything but the kitchen sink at it. Russian propaganda is at an all-time high, trying to splinter relations between black people and Anglo people in the USA. The problem with that is the same problem that it's always been. Family ties, neighbors, friends. So most of the time in society, you're not dealing with law enforcement. You're dealing with the law of averages. Which group is more dominant? If you have more whites in a society, you tend to get extreme racism, right? But I don't think it's racism at all. It's something most people would call prejudice, right? Because we all harbor those. But that's the title we put on them, making everybody a villain, when we know damn well that's not the truth. Hell, being a part of the black community, we have villains in our own community towards ourselves, just like we have villains from the Anglo community. Put too many Mexicans in one spot, and you're gonna get the same racial treatment. Sometimes Mexicans are a little more harsh than white people. Wouldn't you say so yourself? The problem is that we were directly taught to hate ourselves and directly taught to reverse that hatred with love for them. And so therefore, most of us have a lot more resent locked up inside. But I encourage you, brothers and sisters, don't use the resent of the past to shape your future. It's one of the most foolish decisions you can make. Because at this point, we're so far in deep that it would take an actual rehauling of history to change anything. Best thing we can do is go forward and create the new culture, the new time, the new history for our future offspring. Let's not settle for the same old shit that we settled for in the past. We don't have to. We can do what we want to do with this thing, especially with combined political power. You see, when we're splintered off in the Republican Party and we're splintered off in the Democratic Party, anybody can step in and create division. It's about time we created our own party, and anybody from any other race who wants to join this hip-hop party, come on, let's do it. Peace and blessings.